We're ready to go. I will call the Tippecanoe County Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County to order for March 20th, 2024. And first on the agenda is the roll call.
Jackson Bogan. Not present. Larry Leverins.
Here.
Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Vicki Pearl.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds. Greg
Yep.
Jones. Bob Metzger. Not present. Diana Looper.
Here.
Carla Snodgrass.
Present.
Ravita Rajkarnikar. Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Steve Snyder.
Present.
Tracy Brown.
Present.
Jason Dubkowski.
Present.
Lisa Dullum.
Here.
Kathy Parker.
Here.
And Jody Hamilton.
Here.
Very good. Thank you. So we do have a quorum. Briefing session.
Thank you. Z-2918 JHS Investments Group LLC has requested their second and final continuance to the April 17th public hearing. And Z-2926 Mann Brothers Holdings LLC has requested a continuance to the April 17th public hearing to complete commitment paperwork. All other cases are set to go forward tonight.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 21st, 2024 public hearing as submitted.
I second.
A motion and a second. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. New business.
All right. Well, we have a ratify administrative action item. I believe this might be the second time this has been triggered. As you know, executive committee meeting this month, there were no cases, so there was no need to assemble the group. Per bylaw, the president can, on his or her own, set those agendas and so forth. And so that action did take place. I believe we just wanted to have, as a formality, a voice vote on the action of the president concerning that situation. So.
Okay, I think we'll take a motion on that.
I move to ratify the administrative action that occurred on February 29th, 2024, that approved the March APC and ABZA public hearing agendas, the determination of variances, and the February budget report.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comment on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So now we're into here resolution PD 2402.
I move to hear and vote on Resolution PD 2402.
I second.
All right. This project went before City Council in September of last year. This is the Snowy Owl Commons Plan Development. It is a retirement residential community here proposed for Lafayette Southside. The 9.5 acres, 50 units. Here's a look at the site plan. Private street network there coming off of Twickenham to serve all of the units. They're all single level with garages, small visitor parking area, clubhouse, some amenities. And the addition of, one thing we were able to get with this plan development is the addition of a new trail connection from Twickenham to essentially their back property line, which enters onto the Payless Shopping Center site. And there's an awful lot of foot traffic that traverses that area, and so this will kind of be more formalized, and it'll have a public access easement over it. So it's a good amenity for the city. Other than that, bonding has actually already been received and is in order, and so they do have their construction plans and final plat. They meet all the ordinance requirements at this time, and so they'll be clear to record post-approval. So we are recommending approval of Resolution PD 2402.
Thank you. Does the representative or petitioner wish to make a comment?
Good evening, Danelle Bieberstein with Keller Development, representing Area 4 Development for Snowy Owl. Address is 2455 West Hill Road, Fort Wayne. Just wanted to comment, thank you for considering this final development plan. We've worked with the county and the city on several modifications of this, and we believe we have addressed all comments, and we respectfully request that the Plan Commission pass this resolution. We are here, and our civil engineer is here for any questions on this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience wish to comment on this? Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, you have a yellow ballot. I'm not done, Ryan, but I'll get you a second. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Thank you very much. I guess we're here to hear the comprehensive plan conformity resolution.
I move to hear and vote on Resolution 2024-07.
A second.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, David Hill with the Area Plan Commission. You have before you a proposed set of amendments to the redevelopment plan and redevelopment area. This is an item forwarded by the City of West Lafayette Redevelopment Commission. You've seen a couple of these in recent months coming in those instances from the City of Lafayette. This is from West Lafayette. And the APC's task here is simply to determine if what is proposed conforms to the comprehensive plan for the area, and then if so, to make a resolution indicating as much. The proposed amendments would be in many ways administrative. They would kind of take in and put out area, and they would specifically identify two specific areas, allocation areas within this redevelopment plan. The Tippecanoe allocation area, which is shown in the map on the screen in blue, and then the landmark allocation area shown in yellow. As far as conformity with use, the amendments would also contemplate development of two 7-story mixed-use buildings east of River Road in the Tippecanoe allocation area, as well as riverfront access, so development of a facility to allow for access to the riverfront, and then also further study and planning to realize the street grid, which is shown in the map on the right. That comes from the 2020 West Lafayette Downtown Plan. So in each of these instances, what is proposed does meet in conformity with the plan. The West Lafayette Downtown Plan, as far as land use for the red areas, recommends a variety of uses, including residential and commercial and mixed use, as well as for the blue areas, which are the village mixed-use areas. So staff's commentary here is that what is proposed does meet in conformity with the West Lafayette Downtown Plan, and would be happy to answer any questions you might have. I think the West Lafayette Economic Development Director is here if you have specific questions about the redevelopment plan.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Does West Lafayette, anybody from West Lafayette wish to speak to this? Very good, thank you.
Sure. Jennifer Van Sciver, Director of Development. I'm here before you tonight. One, we were proposed to by Landmark Levy for a couple of new projects down on the levee area, and we're looking to put in some infrastructure, some new streets, some new utility lines. We're looking to reimburse that developer for those expenses. And what we're looking at is really pulling out just those parcels for their project, and that's the little orange blob you see there. That's the landmark allocation area. Really, this is so that their improvements are carved out, so that no other parcel on the Levy Village or even the Tippecanoe allocation area will pay for the improvements, just the landmark project will. The second one was really just an opportunity for us to go ahead and pull out the Tippecanoe allocation area so that we can improve the downtown riverfront area, as that area is kind of being kicked off. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anybody from the audience wish to comment on this? Staff, any questions, comments from the staff? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot. Thank you.
So 14 ballots cast, all in favor.
Very good, thank you. Now we're going to enter our public hearing portion of the meeting, and we have a couple statements need to be read. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedure, the commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we're only concerned as to whether the actual drawings showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make a comment or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petition will be given an opportunity to do so. When we hear requests for change in rezoning, we are trying to determine if the new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate for the property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report. Then the person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized. Then those of you who wish to oppose will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed a rebuttal. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body with a majority of 17 is 9. Regardless of how many commissioners are actually present, at least 9 votes in favor or 9 votes against are required for an action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, the case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. Our vote on a request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate city council, town council, or county commissioners, who must ultimately decide on the changes in zoning. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address for the record. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out before using your phone. All exhibits presented to the commission become the property of the commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendation on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from the checkpoint agencies.
I second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Now we're ready to hear the next case.
I move to continue Z 2918 JHS Investments Group LLC, NB to and R1 to NB, and Z 2926 Mann Brothers Holdings LLC, I3 to GB, to the April 17th APC public hearing.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now we're ready for the next case.
I move to hear and vote on Resolution 2024-05.
A second.
Brian, please.
All right. Okay, well, I'm going to give you just a brief history here. The staff report kind of lays it all out, but in July of 2022, the county commissioners passed a resolution authorizing area plan staff to study the unincorporated townships of Wabash and Tippecanoe and create with resident property owner stakeholders of all stripes a formal township plan. This would essentially amend an existing plan for this area that dates back to 1981. So certainly the time was ripe. By the fall of 2022, the steering committee was drawn together, made by at the requests of the elected officials at the township and commissioners level, made suggestions for individuals that should help in this effort. And we finally got commitments by around that time in the fall, and we're able to have our first meeting before the end of the year. And then that led to, in early 2023, the first round of kind of public outreach. And we had what we called public input sessions, and they were held at some local schools in the townships in the evenings. It's a relatively intense process for the folks that contributed, but we made use of the nominal group process, which is something we've done many times before to try to hone people's decision-making and allow them to kind of vote on their top issues, all connected to a question of what challenges are the townships facing in the next 15, 20 years. So fairly open-ended, lots of comment, lots of discussion. There were some individuals here that were in attendance and can kind of speak to that. So the sort of the top four, main goals that kind of came from those sessions found their way into the plan itself, and we sort of list them here: of pathways for sustainable township growth, protection of the natural environment, a balanced plan for township development, and then maintaining first-rate infrastructure and institutional needs. Those were high up on the list. And so for the rest of 2023, meeting almost monthly, staff met with the steering committee members, and we started to assemble the various component parts of the plan that you have. We have a link to it here in our report. It's fairly lengthy, so I wasn't able to print a zillion copies. That'd be a lot of paper. And we were able to get to a point with the steering committee members where we had majority consensus for a working draft by the fall of 2023. And so that led to another round of public input towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And we held what we called open house events, a little more unstructured, a little bit more in the Q&A directly with staff, where the draft was shown and people were able to ask questions, mill around. We had these events kind of went on for the two events we held, one at the Wabash Township Trustee's office for Wabash, and then one in Harrison High School for Tippecanoe. Lots of folks came over a course of many hours, and we got a lot of feedback from that. And so the feedback was the written feedback we were able to get from folks there and then both online. We then kind of condensed it into a readable format for the committee, let them review it, and solicited final comments and edits based on that comment. And so that resulted in the draft that's in front of you today, dated February of this year. So really the main issues with this plan, in my opinion, it's fairly conservative. It is, there's this tension between agricultural preservation and residential expansion. And this plan is trying to thread that needle to accommodate both. We have very rich agricultural lands in these townships, and we also have high demand for housing and infrastructure to assist with that housing expansion. So what we've shown in the report is essentially comparing the 1981 plan's future land use prescriptions, the percentage of the total acreage of the townships in their unincorporated state. We're not including West Lafayette or Battleground. And then we kind of put it alongside the current plan that's in front of you. And you'll see that we managed to get expansions in both agricultural and residential. At the expense largely of kind of commercial, non-residential type development and a little bit off of open space. Since those were the two main priorities, we felt like we needed to speak to those issues, and I believe we've done so. So the commissioners asked for a plan with their resolution, and we're here to deliver. I did invite members of our steering committee to come and speak if they were able to, and I think we may have some in the audience. I'll leave it up to them if they'd like to speak or not. But very pleased with the process. We had probably the most robust public input that we've had in an effort like this. It's a very vast area, lots of issues to tackle. But I believe that we have a very workable plan that really just sort of builds on the progress that's been occurring, and we're trying to provide just a little bit more clarity about where things are going to grow into the future. And so with that, we do recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Anyone from the audience wish to comment on this? Please come forward.
Good evening. Excuse me. My name is Steve Clevenger, 4011 Black Forest Lane, West Lafayette, Indiana. And I am for this plan. I'm glad to finally see this happen. Again, a reminder, it's a concept. It's not set in stone. It's not zoning. It's what could happen. And it's a guide to where growth can happen. And back in 1998, when NUZO was passed that summer, we were actually promised by the Area Plan Commission that a plan would be looked at in the near future. It is now almost 26 years later, longer than the time difference between the 1981 and the 1998 timeframe when we were promised a plan. Again, I think it is a good plan. I'm glad so many people provided feedback. Please approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else wish to speak? Questions or comments from the commission?
I have a question.
Vicki?
So in the plan, it's one of the things is to go through and do the rezone, and so I'm curious on the parcels that will be changed. Will those landowners be notified, or is it just a blanket rezone and they have nothing to say about it?
Usually when it comes to those efforts, yeah, there is no blanket rezone. If someone wants to opt out.
But I mean, how are
Yeah,
they
they can.
notified?
Well, it'll likely be if there are areas that we feel should be brought into, conformity with the plan, staff will make that proposal. I would think Ordinance Committee might be a good place to maybe discuss that, say, hey, this is what we're thinking, what do you think? And would be prepared to explain why. And then those owners would be reached out to directly. We did this with in the 2018 231 corridor plan. All property owners were written to, and asked if, we are proposing to rezone your property on our dime from this to this. Do you object? Please let us know. Or if you are for
they would have to come
it was
to
more of, or if you're for it, please let us know. That way, if there's radio silence, then we'll take no action. And so we heard from most people on that. There were some that we didn't, and we left their properties alone. So we would do something similar here with the rezone actions. They would volunteer into it, as opposed to. I don't see a compelling reason for a massive township-wide rezone. Unless someone can give me a compelling reason for that.
No, I think that answers the question. That's kind of the question I'd been asked is if there was going to be one, and it seems like you'll do it like you did in the past, and we'll talk about it at ordinance committee, and if it makes sense, we'll pursue that, and you'll include the landowners.
Yeah, and perhaps we could, have a robust discussion about it with folks and invite them to ordinance committee, and since the forum's already here for the public. So
it's not like a neighborhood rezone where we're going in and rezoning, I think maybe what.
Right, it's just
we
too
were
vast
thinking.
an area, and there's certainly plenty of sites that either are grandfathered sites that maybe need to be brought into conformity, and so, so I think we'll really, even little things like the the amphitheater site is still being governed by an expired plan development for the old play that used to be there. And it's essentially an undevelopable zone. That would be one fix that probably wouldn't offend the commissioners. There'll be plenty of those opportunities, but certainly for the public, we'll make sure we give them a chance to join it or not.
Okay, very good, good answer. Anybody else on the commission, questions or comments? We have a yellow ballot. Right. I think I gave you the wrong ballot. It's the yellow one. There I am, that's 108. I think that's the 120. Jeff,
Yeah,
thank you.
24.
Sorry, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can be.
We have 13 ballots in favor, 1 against.
Thank you, and that will go to the county commissioners for final approval
Correct, next month.
next month. Thank you very much. Next case, Larry, please.
I move to vote, or to hear and vote on UZO Amendment 108.
I second.
All right. Okay. Well, this is another effort that has been a couple years in the creation. I'll just refer to the agenda item here. There's 2 ordinance amendments, one to the zoning ordinance, one to the subdivision ordinance, in order to create a new zoning district known as the R1T residential, single-family residential townhouse. This effort began early on In 2022, at our AO discussions, we've had a good few planned developments that have built single-family townhomes, which are essentially fee simple lots, with the property lines being divided by the 2-hour party walls. These are single-family units. They're just attached instead of detached. And we have plenty of examples, new, and then some, lovely old ones, especially here in Lafayette. So this is not an unheard of type of development. And we actually have had some interest from the development community asking about this, and it was kind of just serendipity that we happened to be working on it when they asked. And so we said, well, we'll bring you along. And so over the course of, basically 2 full years, we've had various drafts, various ideas, and we finally came up with, I think, a solution that both our local builders association, Greater Lafayette, was very instrumental in assisting, and then as well as other staff members, and a lot of contributions came into this. And at the end of the day, we settled on just a single zone that has just some nuances in it to allow for the development of single-family attached homes. The main limitation is that it must be within, it must be on the grid. So these would not be available in areas for septic and wells. This is more of an urban type of development for residential, and so it makes sense that it be on the grid, or the grid could be extended to reach. And so that's the first layer. Second layer is the urbanized sewered area, which is a defined term in the zoning ordinance. They're essentially quasi-historic districts. They've been in the appendices of our zoning ordinance for a long time, and they've largely governed the U district zones, with the older urban zones that are trying to recapture how those historic neighborhoods were built. So as new construction comes in, it could blend with the old. That was the intent anyway. And so any townhouse development in these areas would be true urban infill. Either you have a vacant site in the heart of the city, or perhaps you have some dilapidated properties that an investor's coming in, wants to rezone it, redevelop it. That we're providing essentially the option for a zero parking standard in those situations. It doesn't mean you can't build a garage, you certainly can, but we are providing the option to not. And I think that makes sense, and especially when you have either they want to do some purpose-built, car-free townhomes, or there's some other alternative parking arrangement made in the city, either out on the street under a permit parking program, or a private lot, or some other sort of thing. So at least the option's available. We'll sort of leave it up to the developer and to the market. But we believe that this zone and this type of residential use is sort of this missing middle that our community's been needing, and we have been able to develop these under planned developments. The objective here is to provide a by right path so they can be done quicker and cheaper, and at the front end. And we feel that we're ready for this, and I think the market will dictate if it gets used. So to that end, we are part of this amendment is also to remove the R1Z zone, which is called the zero lot line zone. It was created, I believe, before the '98 ordinance, and has never been used. There's not a single bit of property anywhere in the community that's zoned R1Z. And since the tool was put in and no one used it after all of these years, I thought, well, how about we just replace tit for tat, take out R1Z, put in R1T, and go from there. So these again are fee simple lots. These are not condominiums. People own the dirt and they own the building on it, and their property lines are bounded by their party walls. If they're an end unit, then they'll have a side yard, so that's the long and short of it. The subdivision ordinance amendment is essentially geared to, well, how do you do it? So the zoning ordinance amendment says what they are, what the standards are. That content was all approved by Ordinance Committee in December 6th of last year and has not changed. It's just been reoriented into ordinance format. But at the USO level, the subdivision ordinance needed a few tweaks, and I can just briefly mention some of them. There was some definition changes that we needed to make, and because the subdivision ordinance currently doesn't have language to support single-family attached type structures. And then we provided a pathway for major subdivisions, which would probably be how most of them are done, but also minors. And this would be more for like the urban infill environments where someone's coming in and they maybe want to build 5 townhomes on a half-city block, for example. And then the specifics for how they're platted. When you build a townhouse, when you're trying to get your property lines down, the surveyor needs something to shoot. So they have a precise measurement of the property line running through the party wall. And so you can't just plat the townhouse lots and then build them. No builder is that good. It's just not going to happen. So we borrowed language from the PD ordinance that essentially deals with condos and zero lot line situations, where you essentially plat, say, the main lot, and that you're going to be dividing into townhouse lots. And then after you've platted that, when at least the foundations are in place, well, then the surveyor has actually something they can go out and shoot. And so once that's done and those surveys are made, then the actual townhouse lot that will be for sale can be amended platted, essentially. And so we're looking at an amendment plat process for that. So I can answer any questions about that. But it's just an extra step that's administrative in order to create that final product lot that can be transferred. So I'll shut up at this point and see if there's any questions. There's a lot into it, and I don't want to get into the zoning and ordinance weeds, but I wanted to give you at least the gist.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Any member of the audience wish to speak to this? Questions or comments from the board? Did we want to hear both of these at the same time, or the next one is different?
No,
If it's different,
It is 2 amendments.
okay, we'll do it. We'll do it separate. The only comment, okay, we'll do them separate. The only comment I have, I know that the staff, ordinance committee, the building committee, or the building group from the community spent a lot of time on this, tweaking, working something that everybody thinks is usable. So there was a lot of time put into this. So appreciate that. Thank you. So we do have a yellow ballot. We're doing one more. Get my numbers right.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval of UZO Amendment 108.
Thank you, Ryan. We're ready to hear USO Amendment number 13.
I move to hear and vote on USO Amendment 13.
A second.
Motion and a second. Ryan again.
Any questions? on the USO amendment?
Yeah, the new 13, yeah. Is it basically the same?
Yeah. As I mentioned, it basically provides the pathway for establishing the lots for single-family attached homes.
Okay.
So,
Anybody from the audience wish to comment on this? Questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot. Christina, I need another ballot.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval for USO Amendment Number 13.
Very good, thank you. Subdivisions.
I move to hear and vote on S5161 Odyssey Apartments, major preliminary.
I second.
Good evening. Here to hear petitioner seeking primary approval for one lot, 176 unit, 5 building multifamily subdivision on 4 acres on the end of Neil Armstrong Lane in West Lafayette. We've heard 3 variances on this case, as you can see here. We see an existing pedestrian trail that goes from the existing multifamily area north towards Subway. Part of this new plan, as you can see, it's we have a trail that the developer has just worked with the city to pave that trail and continue that trail. In addition to that, this subdivision has received a few variances to help it fit inside this tiny site. And it's, other than that, it's just a standard multifamily subdivision with staff recommending approval.
Very good, thank you, Larry. Petitioner or the representative?
I'm Nick DiGiacomo with Tiber Design, here representing the petitioner, and we would just like to request approval of the subdivision. We did review the staff recommendations, and we plan to incorporate this for approval at stage. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Very good, thank you. Anybody in the audience wish to speak to this? Questions or comments from the board? Now, this is a white ballot for the subdivision, so, yeah, you say bond, did they say? Very good, thank you. So we do have bonding, thank you.
Because it's a subdivision.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Rezoning activities.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2921, the Fourth Offset LLC, Joshua P. Theo, 400 North 9th Street Apartments, PD, R2U to PDRS.
I second.
All right. Well, we're in the Centennial neighborhood. As you can see from that crosshatch pattern there, there's our very first form-based overlay is found in that neighborhood. Plan developments are exempt from that overlay, and the reason why this project is coming before you is because it's not new construction. It's essentially a rehabilitation of a historic structure. And so we kind of needed the PD treatment to accomplish it. The building apparently was a fourplex in its original construction, but over many years had been converted to multiple units. If you've driven by the site, they've largely buttoned it up. They've done a lot of interior improvements to, make the structure safe and basically seal it off. And they're sort of waiting for this step to be able to continue beyond where they are at now. In this instance, when we have something that's not meeting the form-based code completely, we do have the Centennial Neighborhood Plan from 2012 as a guide, and I list some quotes in there, and I'm not going to read them to you, but essentially this proposal meets the prescriptions of the land use plan. It contemplated fourplexes in this particular part of the neighborhood. Historically, they'd already been in this area. This used to be one of them. And so the use is fine, and they're even going further by respecting the rear-loaded garage request, policy statement in the neighborhood plan as well. That would be the only new structure that would be built on this site with this plan development. There is a slab on the west side of the property abutting the existing city alley where that building will go. It will be detached from the main historic building. There'll be a small kind of walkway for them, for folks to connect to their units. But there'll be a one car per unit in terms of the parking ratio. And we feel it fits like a glove. We're glad to see this historic building loved back to life, and we're happy to recommend approval with basically the standard conditions for a PD. Be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Petitioner?
Good evening, Kevin Riley with RTS Law representing the petitioner. Josh Teal, the petitioner's representative, is also here tonight if you have questions of him. We appreciate the time that area plan staff and the city officials have spent with us on this project. I did want to add a little bit of additional detail. So we've got a two-story building that's going to contain 4 residential units. So 2 one-bedroom, 1-bath units and 2 two-bedroom, 2-bath units. The detached garage is going to have 4 stalls. The garage will incorporate a rooftop gathering area that can be used by the tenants and their guests. And as mentioned, we are taking a property that is in disrepair and turning it into a desirable residential rental option. And we agree, we think it fits the neighborhood. Petitioner certainly tried to be respectful in his plans of the neighborhood, so we think it's a good fit, and we request your approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this?
Evening, everybody. Josh Teal, 1535 Summit Drive, West Lafayette, Indiana. Just wanted to add a little bit of color and context to what we're working on here. So, the building was pretty dilapidated when we found it. It's right next to St. Boniface School. My kids play school there. The former owner was a high school classmate of mine. She lives in South Bend. She got cancer, and it was her dream. She was married in the church next door to renovate this building and return it to some glory. It's a 1910 Spanish missionary style. We've done everything we possibly can. If it wasn't turned into basically sawdust through deterioration, we've tried to restore it. So you've got all the original 114-year-old oak doors inside and outside restored going back in. Countertops will be reclaimed wood from the actual structure itself as we did demolition. Speaking with our nuns across the street who are very interested in the project and watch me daily there, they actually recommended we install some old Catholic church stained glass to match. So we've got some dilapidated German Catholic churches around the state. We've pulled in that stained glass. That'll be incorporated into the interior to fit with the street there where you have German Fest and the church. So doing everything we can, return it to a four-unit structure and improve the neighborhood a little bit. Any questions? Thanks so much.
Thank you. We may have some for you. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone in opposition? Questions from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have a unanimous ballot recommending approval.
Thank you, Ryan. We're ready for the next case.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2924, Heron Bay Development, LLC, R1 to R1B.
I second.
In this request, we have the petitioner who is requesting the rezoning of 3 proposed lots in a proposed subdivision. When we look at the lots here, we can see that we have 3 lots that don't quite meet the lot width in the R1, which is 75 feet. They're all approximately 73 feet in width. The width requirement for R1B is 50 50 feet wide. They still will meet the lot size in the R1, but rezoning them to R1B will allow them to be platted as shown, which is very similar to what the preliminary plat showed. And then it will also afford them the ability to have a little bit higher lot coverage, building coverage than is permitted in the R1. But 3 lots could not be created in this location in the R1 zoning. And we're recommending approval.
Very good, thank you. Anyone or petitioner?
Good evening. My name is Doug Hall with Vestor and Associates, here next door, 309 Columbia Street, for petitioner. We're simply, with this, correcting a slight deficiency in our plat to change this from R1 to R1B, allowing the 3 lots as stated. And we don't have anything additional to add, so if you have any questions, please feel free.
Will do, thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone against? Questions from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
I'm out. Out of the page.
I had more yellow ballots tonight than I did the first gun I ever carried law enforcement.
Right.
Smith & Wesson Model 66, 6 rounds.
Ooh, yeah, you got a pretty good shot with that, don't you?
Very good size. We closed.
We have a unanimous ballot recommending approval.
Very good, thank you. Any administrative matters?
No administrative matters.
Okay, approval of the April Executive Committee agenda.
I move that the following request for subdivision be placed on the April 3rd, 2024 Area Plan Commission Executive Committee agenda at petitioner's request, placement thereon being without reference to compliance or non-compliance with the adopted subdivision ordinance, S5185, WTEC project minor subdivision minor sketch.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Determination of variances.
I move that the following requests for variance from the Unified Zoning Ordinance are not requests for use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. BZA 2144, Charles and Mary Barnett. BZA 2146, 3504 Morehouse. And BZA 2127, 52T LLC.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Director's report.
Thank you. The report was distributed earlier today. I'll just call out one thing. Dr. Gary Steinhardt will be bringing his agronomy class to both the BZA meeting and the APC meeting in April, and as usual, he'd appreciate it if any of the members are able to linger a little bit afterwards and talk to the students. And that's it. I would note personally that it's been my pleasure to be here for the last 3 years and 3 weeks, and I've benefited from knowing you and learning from you, and really appreciate your time and talent and service, and we'll see you down the road.
Very good, thank you. Appreciate your input and updating some stuff. I think we've moved forward, so I wish you well in your new ventures. Any other comments? Citizens' comments and grievances. I'll take that last motion.
I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
That is a lot of paper, right?